Hi guys, so I'm actually back at my parents' house for the weekend because it was my birthday last week and I just decided to take a long weekend to come home and visit them and kind of celebrate a little with the family. And as you can probably tell by the sound of my voice, I have a bit of a cold, so please excuse that going on. I have decided to do the opposites book tag today. I was tagged by Marlene or Marlene Elena here on YouTube, so thank you very much for that. I love doing tags and they're always so much fun, and this one sounded particularly fun, so I wanted to kind of save it until I had my bookshelf again so that I could have like full range of books to choose from and I wouldn't just have to list the titles for you, I could also show them to you. So yeah, let's jump into this tag and hope we don't run out of natural daylight because it's autumn and it's getting dark so early. I hate it. Ugh. So the first two books you're supposed to show are the most recent book you bought and the book that was the first one in your collection. Now I have been reading like as long as I can remember, so I can't really show you the very first book in my collection because I don't have it anymore and I don't remember which one it was, but the one in my current collection was definitely this German edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's or Sorcerer's Stone, and this is what the cover looks like. It's really cool, but all my friends made fun of me because they had Harry Potter books with different covers. I don't know why, but this one actually used to belong to my mom and she gave it to me because she started reading it, but it wasn't really her thing, and so I got it, and yeah, I really actually love this cover now, even though I felt kind of awkward about it at first. And the most recent book I bought is probably the same one all of you have bought recently, and it's Allegiant by Veronica Roth. Please, please, please don't spoil this book for me. I have tried to start reading it, but like on page 2 was like I don't even remember who Evelyn is anymore, so I thought I should probably reread the first two books first. Anyway, question number 2 is to pick the most expensive book you own and the cheapest one you own. So I think the cheapest one would probably be this one. It's called On the Edge by Ilona Andrews. I got this book 2 or 3 years ago, I think, in Ireland at like a thrift shop or a charity shop, and it looks really like this. If you guys know me at all, this is not something I would ever do to my books. So yeah, I think I paid like £1 for this, or even less, like 25 to 50p, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And the most expensive one I own is a school book. As most other students will know, school books are freaking expensive, and this is mine. I honestly don't know what it's called because you can't read kanji yet, but this is the Japanese school book I have. It was 55 bucks, so yeah, I'm sure that's good. But look at it, it's really cute. It actually still has like, it's like a primary school book. It has little pictures, they're even in color. I mean, well, how awesome is that? And then people are saying konnichiwa, ohayo gozaimasu, and things like that. Question number 3 is to pick a book with a female protagonist and one with a male protagonist. Now I have like 99% of my books are probably with female protagonists, so I just picked a random one. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. It's one of my favorite books ever. It's so good. For the book with the male protagonist, I picked one you're probably growing tired of seeing on this channel, but I just love it that much. The Lies of Luck Lamura by Scott Lynch, and I'm not even gonna start talking about this book because you know how amazing I believe it is. Next is to pick one book that took you really, really long to read and one you read like in absolutely no time whatsoever. So the book that took me really long to read was probably The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's technically 3, but it's technically 1, so I count it as 1. I know. This took me really long to read because the books are just really long-winded and there's so much like unnecessary, I want to say, descriptive passages. It's really well written, but it's just incredibly long. And the book that took me like literally no time to read was Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. I think when I got this, I actually sat down and read through the entire night until like 5 a.m. in one sitting because I didn't want to put it down. So definitely Breaking Dawn. That was obviously a few years ago. I'm at this point I'm kind of over my Twilight obsession, but this still remains the book I read the quickest. Next is to pick a book with a really ugly cover and one with a really pretty one. I have a bunch with ugly covers because for some reason authors and publishers insist on putting photographs of people on books, and it just does not go well. Why would you do that? It just looks wrong and horrible, and who is this person even? She doesn't look anything like any of the protagonists. She looks like she's almost 30 or 40 years old, and I'm like, what? Why is it necessary to put a picture of a person on a book? It's just not good. I don't like it at all. It drives me mad. And the book with the prettiest cover goes to Fathomless by Jackson Pierce. I love this cover. It's really pretty. It's got like this mermaid pendant on the side, and then the shimmering colors of the ocean, and then the kind of like the letters are really nice, and I don't know what you call that, but you can actually touch them and feel them, and it's so cool. I really love the cover of this one. Next are two books, one international and one national, and I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to mean, but I'm guessing it means that you should pick a book that was written in your country and one that was written outside of your country. Most of the books I own were written not in Austria because I tend to only read English, so none of them were obviously from Austria. But the one I'm picking is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami, who is a Japanese author, because I think that pretty much screams international. And for the national one, it actually took me quite a while to find one because, again, I mainly read in English, but this is one book I read for class. It is, I think, called The Trial in English by Franz Kafka. Franz Kafka is an Austrian author, and he's really famous, and he's actually really good, so go read this if you speak German. Next, we have one book that is really thin and one that is really thick, and for the thin one, I'm going with An Apple a Day by Emma Wolf. This book not only is thin, but it also deals with being thin because it's about the author's struggle with anorexia and how she overcame it, and it's really interesting. And even if you have never had to deal with anorexia, I've never had to deal with it, luckily, but I'm still really interested in the topic, and if you are too, then go pick this one up. It's really good and really fascinating. And for the thickest book I own, I'm going with The Memoirs of Cleopatra by Margaret George. It's like 1,100 something pages, and it really took me a while to read this, but it's also very good. Next, I was supposed to pick a fiction and a non-fiction book. Now, it was really hard to find non-fiction books for me, and I just realized that An Apple a Day is actually a non-fiction book, so I could have picked that one as well, but I'm actually picking this one. It is a book on physics, and it's called Unglaublich einfach, einfach unglaublich by Werner Gruber. It technically means incredibly easy, and then the word means something else. It means simply as well in German, so simply incredible. And there's like a little word play on it, but only if you speak German. Like a few years ago, a physics teacher used to read us stories from this in class, and they were really fun because this book talks about applying physics to real life, and there's like a story in there how you can survive a jump from a plane on like 3,000 meter height or something like that, and it's really cool, and I really enjoyed that one. It's actually fun, and still you will learn stuff, so this one is really cool. And for my fiction book, I'm going with The Sherlockian by Graham Moore. This book talks about Sherlock Holmes and like the fan group of Sherlock Holmes and like finding his lost diary, and it's really fun and it's really interesting. And I am not sure how much of this is true and how much is made up, but I still like it a lot. The next task is to pick a book that was way too romantic for you, and then one that's more of an action book. And for the one that's way too romantic, I am picking Twilight and the Twilight series, because in retrospect, this book is incredibly cheesy and weird and way too romantic and way too lovey-dovey. Oh my god, I love it. Blah. For my action book, I'm picking Angels and Demons by Dan Brown because there's so much happening in this book and there's not a lot of romance and love story going on, so I think this counts as the opposite. And then the last question is to pick a book that has made you really sad and one that has made you really happy. Now, this is a really difficult question for me because I always am happy when I finish a book, at least when I read a book that I liked, because I just am happy, and that I got to see the story unfold and everything, but that's more like pleased than happy, so I'm not quite sure how to distinguish those two things, if it's just the book's contents that made me feel happy about myself and about my life, or if I was just really, really pleased and satisfied with the story. But either way, I am picking Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen because this book does have romance in it, and it's kind of romantic, like really super romantic, but it's also just so nice and upbeat, and it kind of, I don't know, I just love it. Moving on to the book that made me really sad, and that was A Monster Calls of Patrick Ness, because this book just has such a major impact on you, and it just kind of draws you in, and you're in the story, and you're living it with this little boy who is losing his mother to cancer, and at the end, I have to say that I actually never cry with books. With this one, I was just bawling my eyes out. I was just sitting there like, oh my god, this is so wonderful, this is so heartbreaking, and it just made me feel really, really sad. Okay, now that was it for this tag. I'm tagging a couple of people and also everybody else, but the specific people will be linked in this thing if the annotations decide to work today. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want me to do any other tags, leave them down below. I love doing tags. Give them all to me, please. And yeah, I hope you're having a wonderful week. I'm going to see you guys soon. Bye!